How much more important is placed on well-being now compared to the past, and is it enough?
Chief?
Okay, so greetings all, welcome, and thanks for joining us today. So this is my 30th year in the fire service here in the United States, and I can tell you, anybody who's been around that long here would say that the emphasis on firefighter well-being is dramatically different now than it was in the early 1990s and prior years to that. So much more focus on awareness of the dangers of the job as relating to the physical, mental, spiritual well-being of the men and women that perform the tasks. And so, great strides have been made, more strides need to be made, but certainly we have come a very long way here in the United States over the past 30 years. Compared to the past, and is it enough? So I'm not sure it's ever enough, right? But everything has to be in balance. Certainly from the fire chief's perspective, you can't place all the eggs in one basket, right? Our people are our greatest resource, and we certainly want to make sure we take care of them as best we can within the budgetary confines that are allotted to us by our municipal leaders and ultimately the taxpayers. But there are things we can always do to improve, and sometimes it doesn't. There are things that we can do and should have done decades ago that don't cost anything or cost very little in terms of dollars and cents. But there is a bit of a cultural cost sometimes to those with respect to the time-honored traditions of the fire service and the willingness of firefighters to move off of some of those traditions, not sacrificing them, but perhaps amending them a little bit to more align with known realities and known hazards. So yeah, certainly we have come a long way, and we're doing, at least here in the United States, I know, much better. But there is more work to be done, and the four-sided house, the five-sided house. Those are great analogies, and we could probably spend an hour to an hour and a half talking about every one of those and all the components of those that were not met in the past, being met now, and need to be met in the future. But that's sort of my perspective on that.
Thank you, Chief. Well, to start with, I think the answer Chief Ryan gave is pretty much in line with what I would like to answer from a perspective of here in the Netherlands, in Europe. So when I was preparing this answer, the answer to this question, I thought, well, I'm gonna tell something about more from a personal perspective. You must know that I'm the son and grandson of firefighters, so I'm very used to having firefighters in my environment. Actually, they're in my family. And when I was a little boy, my dad came from work every day, and well, he never told me anything about what was happening while he was on duty, but there was something with him. So one of the things that's a big problem when my father was a firefighter was that has to do with mental health issues, I think, because in a later stadium, after he was retired, he started to act a bit strange, and we found out that he actually had been through so much during his career that he had big problems with his mental health, and that finally ended up in two attempts of suicide. And fortunately, he didn't succeed in that. But that was one of the things that happened in the past. So when I look at mental health issues nowadays in the fire service, is that after every incident, people they're all educated colleagues of firefighters. They're all waiting for the firefighters coming back in the firehouse and start to talk about what they have been through. So that's a big difference in an approach of mental health issues. The other thing had to do with physical and medical testing. Because once I was aware of what my dad did all the time, I thought, well, that must be a physically demanding job that he has. And I was only 10 years by then, so I already saw, well, something is it's physical demanding, and that there have to be some health issues as well with that. But I asked him, well, what are the requirements that you have to go through, and how do they test it? And I was a very little boy by then, but I saw something that was not going wrong. It was not going good. And the thing is that when we look at physical and medical testing nowadays, and I'm very happy that I was involved in the development of medical and physical testing here in the Netherlands. Because somewhere this little kid was still in me and had the same questions. And what you see is that in the early days, testing, physical and medical testing was only driven by opinions of people who didn't know anything about it. So they were all opinion-based testing. But nowadays, we are the testing like physical and medical testing is all evidence-based, and we make big steps in that. But it doesn't say that we are already there, because the whole process of testing and all the consequences and how we can do interventions to become more healthy. We are still in developmental process, and I think I will come back to that later on the next question that I'm involved in. So thank you, Debbie. That was my answer for now.
Ryan, and thank you, Eric. I particularly want to thank you for being so open. I guess we talk a lot about firefighter health, but the impact of any kind of health challenges goes a lot further than, and I think experiencing it firsthand as a child, I can see why that's motivated you to be involved. So thank you.